Welcome to this episode of The Good, The Bad and The Who. In this series, we'll be exploring various episodes of Doctor Who in the various incarnations. We're not going to do it in any sort of chronology or anything like that. What we have done, though, in this first one is we covered a series that's currently on Netflix US. So I think we might possibly stick to the ones that are currently on Netflix US as the first pass to encourage people to go off and have a look at these ones. The one we're covering today is Ark In Space, a Tom Baker one called Ark In Space. Hi, Sam.
Hey.
Right, so Ark In Space is the second adventure involving Tom Baker. Prior to this, I think it was Robot, which was his introductory sort of series. This Doctor Who back then was kind of tended to be each season or series was 4 or 6 or sometimes more episodes that form one story, but then an entire season would be 4 or 6 of these kind of stories. So there'd be like 24 episodes, but there'd be 6 stories within those 24 kind of thing. So second episode with Tom Baker. His sidekicks here, or his companions rather, were Sarah Jane Smith, who's a carryover from the John Pertwee days, and Harry Sullivan, who's like a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Right, so you've seen a bit of Tom Baker before.
Yeah, I've seen Genesis of the Daleks, but that was about it.
Now, Genesis Daleks is considered by many Who fans to be like the best Who story ever, and it's a pretty good one. But yeah, this one's not. I think this one's well regarded, but it's not like up there with Genesis Daleks. What did you think of this? What was your general impression?
I quite liked it. It was kind of interesting, and I think we'll talk about it later. But it had like weird similarities to Alien.
It did, and even Aliens, in fact.
Yeah.
It was first broadcast, just to give you an idea, it was 25th of January it started in 1975, and I remember seeing this when it was on, so I would have been not quite 10 years old, actually 9. I would have been 9, old 9. And it was shown, I would say, about 5:30 on a Saturday evening. To give you an idea, it was meant to be a children's show, but it was kind of grim for that kind of thing. Anyway, excuse me. So it involves then the TARDIS materialising on what appears to be at first this kind of deserted spaceship, doesn't it? Space station, or a large.
It's like a big abandoned space-going vessel.
Now, this particular sort of setting is most often you see it in Red Dwarf, don't you?
Yeah,
they're always finding abandoned space stations. So it kind of.
And there's always something that wants to kill them on it.
Say again?
There's always something that wants to kill them on it.
Yeah, actually. Now, so it starts with this floating vehicle, which appears to have suspended corpses, bodies, people in suspended animation. It turns out that's what it is, in fact. And the head of it, the Ark's leader, has been nicknamed Noah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a joke.
Uh-huh.
And what they figured is something has got into the Ark, some sort of insectoid life form.
Yeah.
And it is. It's called the Wyrn.
The Wyrn.
Wyrn. WRRN, I think.
WIRN.
And we see a dead one of them, but it's about man size, isn't it? Just a bit more.
It's like a giant mosquito, but the size of a person.
Would you say it's mosquito? I would say more like a grasshopper, actually. It's insectoid. Anyway.
Yeah.
And there's also slug things, which are pupal stages or larval stages.
Yeah.
Crawling around too. Pupal, actually. No, sorry, larval.
Yeah.
Okay, so it spans 4 episodes, and we do get a cliffhanger at the end of each episode, which often it turns out to be fake out, and there's not even a threat involved, but it kind of looks like at the end of the episode. Again, we get the credit. Do you like the Tom Baker credits?
Yeah, I think these are probably one of the more iconic Doctor Who credits, and they were even making jokes about them in Family Guy.
Yeah, it's got that kind of fluid light at the end of the tunnel kind of look, doesn't it? That's really cool, and the music sounds really kick-ass as well. This, I think, is one of the best versions of the theme, personally. The more recent ones are fine, but I really like the proper original sort of thin synth kind of the one done by the Radiophonic Workshop kind of score. So it was on over 4 weeks, as I say, and consecutive weeks. There was no break. Spans 4 weeks, and it grew in viewership quite significantly.
Yeah, I think the second one had like one of the highest viewerships ever.
30 million people watched it, and there were 50 million in the UK at the time. So a quarter of the population watched episode 2, which is quite phenomenal when you think about it. It's a kids show. Really, and like you say, it's got kind of equivalent to Alien. Now, to me, this particular one, shows the good and bad things about Doctor Who, especially Tom Baker's reign. It was cheap. Really cheap, and some of the actors were quite terrible. Actually, some were alright. I'm trying to think. There was like 2 guys they found later on in the episode, and one was particularly terrible. Yeah,
but one was pretty good.
But the main leads were okay. Although they found Noah, and there was a woman they found called Vera. I think. Was it Elvira? I can't remember.
One of the two.
Yeah, one of the other. Sarah Jane's pretty good. Harry's quite a good equivalent. Now, Harry apparently was cast when they thought that they were going to go back to an old Doctor after John Pertwee, because they wanted a younger man with some action about him. But in fact, they got Tom Baker. Do you think they got a man of action with Tom Baker?
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, he's
one of the more sort of thinking doctors, but his insanity is...
He's very energetic.
Yeah.
Didn't he start going on about jelly babies in this? He often does.
Yeah, they were trapped in a room with like the larvae on one side and a giant bug on the other, and he started offering people jelly babies.
Yeah, and there's also a bit where a was it like a protective unit or an alarm unit started shooting at them if they moved, and they had to kind of creep around the room. They did the old move the table trick.
So it was just like Harry and the Doctor's legs sticking out from under a table.
And there was kind of a bit that made me laugh where Sarah Jane kind of gets stuck in a pipe and she starts grizzling, and he starts going, "Oh, you useless girl, you're terrible. I knew we shouldn't have trusted you." And she crawls out there.
She crawls out to have a go at him. He goes like, "Good job," and goes back to what he was doing.
Yeah, he's very funny in this. There's Baker's really... You can see they made the right choice with Baker. Even by this stage, you could kind of tell. It'd be interesting to go back to see the very first one at some point, which was... We were going to watch Robot, weren't we? But because this was on Netflix, I thought this might be a better choice. And it gives us everything we
It means other people can go out and watch it.
Yeah, you could go find it. It's a bit more difficult to get hold of Robot. This was, it's on US Netflix. You should... a lot of people got that. And it's kind of fun to have a watch. Some of the effects were a bit poor.
Yeah.
There was a bit where a guy was covered in green stuff that I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was bubble wrap though, so...
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of quite a mass experiment, actually. It was kind of... It was
me of the Blob.
Yes, it was a bit blobby, you're quite right. It was kind of... He was being slowly overtaken by an alien life form, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And his mind was being turned as he was being overtaken. But he didn't seem that resistant to it, but... At the end of the day, he was resistant. He did something that suggested he managed to resist what the alien life form was trying to sort of get him to do. But the Doctor appealed to a spark of humanity within him, which is in the original Quatermass experiment exactly how it ends. In the film version of that, it doesn't end that way. But in the original teleplay, the TV version, that's kind of how it ended.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the alien stuff. Firstly, the ship kind of reminded you of...
Yeah, it did have that sort of like low-tech sci-fi sort of thing.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a functional place, though some of the rooms were
lots of octagonal corridors and sort of thing.
Yeah, which suggested both... I think that might have been inspired a bit by 2001. And then in turn it inspired Alien, but the actual story is alien-esque.
Yeah,
of these eggs on the ship that are taking over the inhabitants.
Yeah,
and as I say, they're intelligent because they talk at some points, don't they?
Yeah, they talk through this guy they possess, who's Noah.
Yeah, and the Wern are kind of. Now, apparently, in some spellings of Wern, it's in the one we saw, it's 2 R's, W-A-R-I-N, but in some places it's spelled with 3 R's, W-A-R-I-N, which is going a bit strong, really. They don't appear much else in Doctor Who lore.
I think the only other time they've appeared is in a book.
Yeah.
A Colin Baker sort of era book.
You're right. That's exactly right. They also were mentioned in a 10th Doctor Children Need mini episode called Time Crash. Just mentioned in passing. And there was also apparently a series of 11th Doctor mini episodes called Pond Life, which I think I remember. Was it animated? They're mentioned in that too. But
I can't remember.
Don't actually appear. And this one leads it into another... At the end of it, it leads into another kind of famous Tom Baker one called the Sontaran Experiment, which I think is the first time the Sontarans appear. Now, the Sontarans have appeared quite a lot in the new Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And they're always popping up. So...
Oh, no, the Wern have appeared in another TV
have they?
episode called The Stones of Blood.
My mistake, I don't know that one. I mean, I'm more familiar with everything up from probably Hartnell to Tom Baker, and I kind of lost interest after that. Though I have watched a few of the different ones, but okay, that's cool. Apparently, they shot.
Oh, they find a dead body of a
Say
Wern.
again?
They find a dead Wern, as well as a sea devil. But,
oh, okay, so they're probably reusing props.
Yeah, they were just chucked a few props there.
Right. Okay. Yeah, this was one of this, as you said, part 2 was really watched by a lot of people, and it says it in Wikipedia. This was the highest chart placing ever attained by a single episode of Doctor Who until 2007's Voyage of the Damned, which was the one with Kylie Minogue, if I remember rightly. So that's kind of interesting. There's a review here from a book called The Discontinuity Guide. It says, the Ark in Space rises above the dodginess of the effects by treating its themes so seriously it's a possible influence on Alien. And later on, Stephen Moffat, who's like the showrunner for Doctor Who in recent times, replied to a question about borrowing material from Alien films, said they never asked the Doctor to borrow the plot of Ark in Space because people were suggesting some parts of Doctor Who were borrowing from Alien. I think Doctor Who can claim that it was there first, definitely. There's very little you could say Doctor Who borrows from other things. Actually, having said that, I do believe that this particular one did borrow from Quatermass Experiment somewhat, a little. And also there's elements of one called Quatermass and the Pit in this with the giant insects, because that was a theme in Quatermass and the Pit.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen, you have to borrow. You can when a show that
there are no original ideas.
Well, there is that, but a show that runs this long has to borrow. It's like The Simpsons and South Park and so on and so forth. Long-running shows have to.
Well, I think South Park's doing well.
Oh, it does it well. It's how well you borrow. Yeah. But I don't mean people mind borrowing as long as you make it somewhat original compared to where it's being borrowed from. I kind of want to watch the Sontaran Experiment at some point too. It's an interesting one, because the one they actually beam down to Earth, don't they? And it's tens of thousands of years into the future as well. I believe they kind of talk about the technology of the Ark being 2,000 or 3,000 years advanced to Sarah Jane's time, but the Ark itself is several thousand years old, which suggests we're quite a way into the future. So something's happening on Earth involving Sontarans, which is kind of cool. And they beam down a bit like Star Trek to the planet, and that's how episode 4 ends. I enjoyed this one overall. It was pretty good. Pretty solid one. And Tom Baker definitely showed his chops in this. He's full of energy. And when he has to babble
he has to
pseudo-scientific nonsense.
The jargon.
Yeah, he does it just fine. It's fine, it is nonsense, but that's what Doctor Who does. It often throws in current buzzwords as well.
Yeah,
and we see that in other shows. Star Trek Next Generation was awful for throwing in things like going on about neural nets and this, that, and the other things that were buzzwords in the 90s. It just happened, So I enjoyed this one. So you glad you watched it?
Yeah.
So at some point in the near future, we'll probably watch another Doctor Who. We're not rushing at this. We'll just do it now and again. But we'll probably try and pick from the Netflix choices for now. And I think we're mostly sticking to classic Doctor Who, aren't we?
Yeah.
I think if ever we get to the more modern Doctor Who, we'll probably be doing entire series of that rather than just odd ones. Whereas with the old Doctor Who, they come in sets of 2 or 4 or 6, or some even go up to 12 episodes for one story. But those are the exception. Most of them are 4. Okay, I think exhaustive, quite enjoyable series. One to dig out. It's on Netflix. I think it's they call it season 7 on Netflix. They've titled this, but it's the first one involving Tom Baker in their set.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else we got? Anything?
No, I can't think of anything.
There's definitely lots of elements of aliens. There's actually a bit where they have got a hand device and it's beeping to indicate the closeness of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is out of Aliens,
That
isn't
was...
it? Yeah, that was interesting to see. Alright then, okay, so it's bye from me.
Bye.